aim to motivate and inspire viewers to enjoy the clothes they wear as an expression of their personality and their beliefs. This is the Slow Wardrobe. Come and have a look.
Hello, welcome to episode 64 of the Slow Wardrobe podcast. My name is Linda and I'm your host. In this episode, I will give you an update on my knitting that I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. I'm showing off my latest finished object, and as requested by one of the viewers, I will talk a little bit more about the extra short rows that I put in the back of this jumper, my Talvinen, if I've got it correctly, jumper that I knitted last year, and that has this kind of graded bottom seam. It's a little bit longer in the back than in the front, and I've put pins in to show you how that is achieved, that look, because that's not standard in the pattern, but it's an easy thing to do and copy if you like the idea. And then in the second section of the podcast, as per usual, I talk about Layercake and introduce a new pre-order that I've got running for the rest of March. I talk briefly about the Ukrainian appeal, where 20% of all blue and yellow Layercake items sold, 20% of the price of all blue and yellow Layercake items sold in the month of March will go to the British Red Cross Ukraine appeal. Ukrainian appeal. So let's get started with the knitting section first. What have I been working on? Right, well, I'll start with my work in progress first then. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen it there already, a photograph that I posted this week, and that is a second color way of the Yarnadelic poncho. This is a poncho knitted out of Yarnadelic yarn. It's a sport weight yarn that runs, I think it's 330 meters per 100 grams. And when you knit it on 3.75 millimeter needles, you get a very nice, relatively loose, in my case, because I'm a very loose knitter, in your case it might be slightly more solid, but you get a nice fabric. And then once you've finished knitting the entire poncho, you felt it. And one very easy way to get around the issue of the washing machines in Europe, and especially here in the UK, being mainly front loaders, and therefore they can't be opened in the course of a wash. To get around that, the solution for us is to felt in the dryer rather than the washing machine. So all you do with your finished object is you soak it, then squeeze out the excess water. If you want to, you can trample it between a couple of towels to get the excess water out, but then you put it in the dryer and you can start drying it, and every 5 or 10 minutes you can look at your progress. So that whole idea of staying in control of the amount of felting that you do is very easily achieved that way. That's how I did this one, the first colorway. And the reason I'm holding it up like that is to give you an idea of how the stripes go. This uses all 18 colors in the collection, so does the new one. But it's got a main color, and to try and point out what that main color is, it's right at the bottom here, right at the top here, as an edging. Then come all the other 17 colors until this point. That's where I've done all 18 colors once. From that point onwards, I knit every color the same number of rows. And then the middle section, which is here, that's where that main color comes back, because I start alternating my 17 different colors with narrow stripes of the main color in between. And that's why this section is so much longer than the first one. Then once I've finished that, I go back to the 17 other colors and finish off with an edge in the main color. Now what I've changed is the color of that main color, even though it doesn't look very main when you see it like this, because it's really interspersed with the others. When I show you what I'm knitting at the moment, that main color becomes a lot more prevalent, because of course it hasn't been felted yet. So here you can see what, I can't spread it out because of course it's on my needles, but here you can see how much bigger the poncho is when you are knitting it. I'll try and fold it in a similar way so I can again line up those stripes. Like this. So you can see here at the top, I've started with a dark color instead. Then come the same other 17 colors. They finish here on the felted version. They finish there on the version that I'm knitting. And then I start doing the stripes with the main color in between. And I've just finished that. And now, so that runs from here to there. And in my felted version, it runs from here to there. So you can see that you lose almost half your height in the felting. Now that is because that's how much felting I chose to do. And that's the thing that you're in control of when you put it in the dryer. Of course, you're also in control of this when you felt by hand. It's just a more lengthy and more physical process, if you like, but you can felt it by hand as well. There's no reason not to. And that control allows you to take measurements while you are felting, see whether you like the fabric, see whether you like it firmer and smaller, or whether you want to keep it a little bit looser and bigger. But the resulting fabric is just lovely. It's really together, but it's not stiff. And of course, it's wonderfully warm. So I will keep you posted on my progress on this. I'm knitting like a demon because of course it's just stocking stitch in the round. So it's just knit, 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 knit. So the finish of the yoke section, the increases was about here. And then the rest of it is just knitted down. So it's got that, it's basically a round yoke with a straight section knitted onto that. So it's kind of got a clock shape when it's finished, and then it's felted. You can see that clock shape here as well. It's a bit difficult to hold up because of course it's rounded, but I hope you, if I fold it forward, I hope you get the idea. And then you get the roundness around your shoulders, of course. So it's got an interesting finish for all the ends as well, because of course you've got lots of ends every time you finish colors, you finish a color. And you can see here on the outside that you cannot see any jogs. It's got a clever trick to disguise your jogs. You cannot see how you move from one color to the next. That's all running inside here. And on the inside, rather than weaving in all the ends, which is absolutely no problem, you can of course do that if you prefer it, and they will just disappear in the finished object. But what I liked the idea of is to create these little tassels. And of course your little tassels felt as well. So I explain, of course, in the pattern how you make the little tassels, and you can see that to disguise your jog, you end up with a diagonal line of tassels and starts of rounds rather, but the result is no jogs, works a treat. And these colorful little tassels just sit on the inside, or of course you can wear the whole thing inside out and make your tassels a feature. There really isn't an inside or an outside from how it looks perspective. It all depends on what you prefer. So I expect that in this coming week I'll be able to finish this poncho and I will felt it, and in the next episode, in episode 65, I'll be able to show them side by side, show the difference between the lighter and the darker color. And if you like this idea already, the kits to knit your own with the pattern of course included are already available on the website now. So that's my current project. I've been eyeing up lots of other projects online, jumpers specifically. I'm still on a bit of a jumper kick. My problem is to find a jumper pattern that I will knit and then wear. And I will show you the latest one that I finished now. I've shown it on my body on Instagram, but here it is behind me to the side, shown on one of the little mannequins. This is the Shifty by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits, and I have knitted this in size number 4 out of 8. I have downsized my needles by 2 sizes in order to achieve gauge, but other than that, the only change that I've made in the pattern is to transfer at the end of the yoke and the beginning of the sleeves slightly more stitches, 10 stitches per sleeve. Per side. I've transferred 10 more stitches to the sleeve than to the body, because I realized that the body would come up slightly on the large side on me, and with my big arms and my bingo wings, it would really work for me to have slightly more stitches on the arms. So that's what I've done. I've then stuck to the same pattern of decreases on the arms that the pattern asks for. So my stitch count is 10 stitches more all the way to the bottom, and that's worked a treat. It fits me really well. So the colors, I bought all the complementary colors, which are the little blips from Loop in London, and I bought the main color. I ordered the main color online from Fig Tree Yarns. It's a color called Kaluna, and it was blended especially for Fig Tree Yarns. And when I saw that, I knew that was the color that I wanted as my background color, and I'm really pleased with how it's knitted up. So this is a good example of a jumper that I just have to push myself to start wearing it. And I don't know why I haven't worn it yet. Maybe a temperature thing, but I'll get around to it hopefully, because I've got a bit of a history of not wearing my jumpers. And I'm not 100% sure what causes that. But this is a real exception. I wear this a lot and I adore wearing it. It's one of the reasons that I'm such a big fan of the yarn, which is Le Petit Lamb's Wool by Biche et Bouche. And it's a yarn that I think is about 500 meters per 100 grams. And it just creates such a light and airy texture. And I think it's got something to do with that. This is a 4-ply, and because it is a form of mosaic knitting, you end up with a relatively dense fabric. And I think when a fabric gets too dense, a knitted fabric gets too dense, then I start shying away from it. I'm not sure what that is exactly. But anyway, hopefully I'll start wearing it. You'll see it on Instagram if I do. And the main thing is that I just need to put it underneath a play suit or something like that, and then see how I feel in the course of the day and take it from there. So, talking about the talvinen. By the way, I'm going to take my little scarf off. I'm too warm with it on. What is it? It's not exactly warm outside. In fact, it's quite chilly. It's very early in the morning still. I often find that I'm really warm first thing in the morning. Am I the only one? I thought I'd be done by now. I'm 59, so the whole menopause thing, isn't that done by the age of 59 by now? I don't really get any hot flushes anymore, but I'm just warm for no good reason. The reason I had this on, by the way, was that I realized this is the double-sided little shawl that I designed and made available as a kit to go with the large purple check fabric, of which you see a lot more in the second half of the show. And this has got lots of the colors in that the large purple check has. And the reason I did this design and the reason that I wore it today was not just to celebrate the large purple check a little bit more, but I wanted to wear it because I realized that I keep showing this side. I was so taken by the fact that these little little eyelets in the contrasting color end up peeping out a little bit. They stick up a little bit and they make the folding of the fabric differently because the slight stiffness of the linen. I like that so much that I realized that I keep showing this side, but this side is really, really nice too. So that's why I put it on this morning. I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't really shown off this side. I love it. And it goes so well with a contrasting color like the chartreuse that I'm wearing. Be interesting as well to do this and then as that contrasting color have some chartreuse or some yellow. What do you think? Anyway, so that's the double Dutch linen kit pattern and yarn that is available on the website as well. But like I said, what I wanted to talk about was the talvien. So what I did, and I've tried to make it visible, I'm going to see whether, when I see this back, the recording that I've done, whether it's worked to make this clear, whether you can see what I'm talking about. If not, I'll do some flat photography to this side. But what I've done here is I've put pins in all the way around at the point where I started to knit short rows. So the number of rows from the bottom of my yoke here to the pins, this number of rows is the same in the front as it is here in the back. So this was the point to which I knitted in the round, and you can see in the front that that is only a couple of rows away from where I'm supposed to start, according to the pattern, where I'm supposed to start the bottom edging. So what did I do? I ended up knitting to this point, then found my middle stitch on the back here, and I started to knit short rows. And with short rows, and I did the German turn, German short rows, and that really disguises the point where you do your wrap and turn, or where you would do a wrap and turn, because with a German short row, you don't really wrap. It's more of how you fold your yarn across your needle. So there's wonderful tutorials for the German rows on YouTube. So have a look at one of those. If I can find a good one, then I will refer to that in the notes below as well. I'll try and find my favorite. There's a short one that is really effective and it shows you very quickly how you're supposed to do it. So I really like that to refresh my memory every now and then, because I tend to forget how to do them. If I haven't done them for a couple of months, then I need to refer back to one of the videos. Anyway, so I'll also write down the number of stitches that I started with here in the back, because you go back and forth, and then every time you come back to the beginning or the end of a row, you knit a couple of stitches extra. So you keep everything on your needle. You start going back and forth, say with 40 stitches. I'm just saying a number. I'll put the right number below here. And then every time you get back to the start of your row, you add, in this case, for me, it was 4 stitches extra. Do one of your German turns, then go back again, knit 4 stitches beyond your last point, do one of the turns again, go back, knit 4 stitches beyond the previous one, etc. So you move up 4 stitches every time, and you do that for a total of, in my case, 36 rows. You can of course do it in whatever number you are comfortable with whatever number you like. The numbers that I'm quoting are for size number 4. If you are knitting a much larger size, then and you want to have the same look, then you would go for a larger number of stitches, because you'll be able to see that by doing that for 36 rows and moving 4 stitches further for every short row, you end up with a wedge that ends quite close to the front. This is the width of the area where you don't do any short rows, and this entire wedge, you can see how it gets wider, of course, towards the back, because the stitches at the back you knit every time, and you slowly add on more stitches as you go, so you end up creating a wedge. And when I finished that wedge and I was happy with the amount of length difference between front and back, that's when I knitted 2 more rounds, and then I started rounds doing all the stitches, kind of bring it all together, and then I started doing the bottom section of the jumper. So I've forgotten the name of the lady who asked to see the detail of this, but that's what it amounts to. I hope that's helpful. If you have any further questions about it, including if you include the information that I'm giving below, if any of that is not clear or you have any other questions, do let me know, and I'll try and answer to the best of my knowledge, of course. And meanwhile, this is of course a treatment that you can apply to a whole load of different garments. And the garment itself doesn't have to have an A-line to create this look. All you have to do is ensure that your bottom edge doesn't pull the jumper in. The bottom edge needs to be loose, and like I said last time, my bottom edge is even looser than the color work above it, but that creates a tiny bit of flare, and then together with your blocking you can really give the jumper the idea of an A-line without creating a lot of extra fabric, and that wedge of course really contributes to it. So let me know what you think. It's a recipe for success in my case, because I love wearing this jumper and I think it looks fantastic with my other garments. So in terms of a shape, it really works for me. With the 3/4 length sleeves that look slightly fluted as well, they actually aren't, they're straight. But again, I blocked out the 1x1 rib on the edge to not have it come in, but just have it straight. And the looseness of the yoke, all of it, the whole fit works really well for me. And I think it is in part, like I said, because of the fineness of the yarn, but also the yarn is for me so easy to work with because it is so light and poofy. You can create a fabric that is not heavy and dense, and a fabric that you can play with in terms of how you distribute the fabric in terms of its measurements. So like I said, you can create the idea of an A-line jumper, even though in terms of stitches it isn't really an A-line. And I love the ability to work with a yarn like that. In that respect, it's really the opposite of linen, which only becomes pliable if you give it more space in the form of lace or open stitching. But the more dense you make it, the firmer it gets. So it has a completely different way of working, and I really enjoy that contrast. So that's about it for where I am with my knitting. I will be able to keep you posted probably already before the next episode as to what I'll be knitting next, because I don't think it'll take me until the next episode to finish this. I've got another Jackie Bog jumper coming down the pike. Jackie is going to send me another kit to knit. I picked one when I saw her at Unravel in February, and she's been working through a backlog of her orders and is going to send me a new kit, which is going to include a steek. And although I'm not one of the people who freaks out at the idea of cutting their knitting, I have absolutely no idea why people find that so stressful. I miss that gene, but I've never actually done it, so I'm really looking forward to that. I love the idea of knitting something in the round, because I love knitting in the round and not having to purl, and then cutting and finishing with a nice ribbon, for example, something that I'm looking forward to already. So hopefully by next time I will have that kit, and either I will have started it or I may be able to tell you a little bit more about it. The only other thing that I wanted to say today is don't forget that I actually have a couple of the wonderful project bags left that I did a big shout out about probably before Christmas by now, that have been made out of my lovely herringbone fabrics and embroidered by the gorgeous Susanna from Trava and Wool. And there's these three that all still have something in them, but then there is this one still lined in the black herringbone with these beautiful, very subtle little pink flowers going all around. There's this yellow one with moth inside with these beautiful flowers, and then this tiny little detail on the back. This one, which I think is stunning contrast, lined in the teal, and then last but not least these beautiful pink ones, again tiny detail on the back, lined in the black. So a handful of them left, just if you're in the mood for a new little project bag. You can see that they're relatively small bags, so they're great for a 1 or 2 skein project, a shawl for the bigger ones, a pair of socks or a pair of gloves or a hat for the smaller ones, or of course notions will work as well. Just to draw your attention to those, the ones that are left, nab them before they're gone. And without further ado, as I tend to say, let's get on with layer cake. Enjoy. I have some new layer cakes for you today. I'm wearing 2 of my own, one of them being one of the new ones to introduce to you. The one that you may or may not already be familiar with is the Chartreuse Love Dress, which is part of my Ukraine charity appeal this month in March. 20% of every blue or yellow layer cake sold, 20% of the price of each layer cake is going to go straight to the British Red Cross Ukraine appeal. And of course the chartreuse, strictly speaking, it's like a greenish yellow, but I thought, oh, it's such a good color, I have to add it. So the Chartreuse Love Dress is included, as are a whole bunch of other ones, which I will show you here. That's just a selection of them. Nice combination shot. Of course, you can make really nice outfits with blue and yellow. I started on my blue and yellow kick last year, September, when in the Scottish Borders, I introduced the Love Dress for the first time, which was in the magpie color. I'll show you that again later on as well, because it rather goes with the large purple checks that I want to show you. And I was wearing that with a sample play suit that I had made to see whether our herringbone linen was suitable for play suits. It's not really. That weave is more delicate, and I want garments like our smocks and tabards and the play suits to be really hard wearing. So I have saved the herringbone fabric for things like baggies and dusters, for which the fabric is much better suited. Still, that was the start of my blue and yellow kick, and it hasn't abated yet. So in a very unfortunate way, blue and yellow was thrust in our faces in the shape of the Ukraine flag. And of course, that just fueled the flames of my blue and yellow love fest, and hence the idea to do this charity drive. So the charity drive is for not just for blue and yellow layer cakes that I've got in stock, but also any sizes and lengths and whatever of the blues and yellows that are not in stock. So the money, the 20% of the price of your purchase is going to go to the Red Cross, the British Red Cross, regardless. But it may be a week or two before you actually get your item if it's one of the sizes that we have to make for you. So much for my little plug for the talk about pluck. My goodness, plucky is the word that comes to mind. I've seen so many incredible stories about Ukrainians standing up to the big might that is facing them, and very inspiring, and hats off to them. I wish I would have a fraction of that courage when a fate like that would befall us here, God forbid. So I hope that Putin will come to his senses, or he will be brought to his knees one way or another. This is not on. And all I can do in the meantime is try and make my contribution to keep the Ukrainians going as best we can. So back to the order of the day and some new layer cakes. Underneath my chartreuse dress, I am wearing baggies in the large purple check, and that is my next pre-order. Some more large purple checks in some different layer cake shapes, and baggies are shape number 1 that I want to show you, because some of you may have thought, yeah, I really like the large purple check, but do I want to wear it all over in the shape of a play suit or a love dress? That's a bit much, especially up here, or maybe purple is not one of your strong colors to wear next to your face. Then baggies, of course, can be a great alternative. You still have the bright colors, you still have the party going on part of your body, and you can team it with a color that ends up working better next to your face. So that's one to consider. And of course, it wouldn't be the only one. We'll go a step further, so I'll show you with this rest of this outfit pre-order number 2. And here it is, a smock of course. Why not? Wonderful combination with the baggies in the same large purple check, but of course also with any other garment underneath. And because you don't have the sleeves, you see a little bit more of whatever other color you are wearing. And of course you can throw this on over whatever else you're wearing, as is custom with our tunics. So, large purple check smock. And if I do a little trick to make the love dress disappear, at least at the bottom, by putting it inside my baggies. Have you thought of that, guys? If it's cold and you've got a love dress and you've got some baggies in a different color, you can create an extra outfit, a different outfit, by putting your love dress, wearing your love dress inside your baggies. Of course, because of the length of the love dress, you won't be hindered by that length at all. It just means that you've got an extra layer of fabric that extends to below your knees and creates extra warmth. There we are. Love dress tucked inside. I still have the top, which I'm now wearing like a love top, of course. And here's outfit number 2. Less visible of my dress. Like I said, it just looks like a little blouse now. And I've got more of the impact of the large purple check in the combination of my baggies and my smock. Now you can see it a little bit with the smock tilting on me a bit. I grabbed a smock size 2. I've got a size 1 as well. I'll put that on in a minute. It's just to show you again that you can wear your layer cakes either more or less oversized, depending on what you're combining with them. So this is a size 1 love dress. And as you may already know, for those of you who don't, the love dress, because of the dolman shape sleeve, has a slightly bigger chest circumference than the corresponding other garments in the same size. In other words, if I take the underbust measurement of a size 1 smock and I compare it with the same measurement on the love dress, then I've got 1 or 2 inches extra on the love dress, which we've put in for ease of movement. That may mean, I think I've said this in the past, but I think it's worth repeating, that may mean that if you're on the cusp between 2 sizes, you could size down in the love dress, especially if you like a more fitted look. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're in doubt, let me know. I will put some more very specific measurements of the love dresses on the relevant size guide on the love dress page, as well as the love top, so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. If in doubt, give me a call or drop me an email or order one. And of course, if it doesn't work, you can swap it for a different size or return it for a refund. Always possible, never a problem, except for sale items. Pre-order items can always be returned or exchanged. Returned for a refund or exchange. The fact that we're making them to order does not mean that you're stuck with them if you don't like them or they don't fit you. The pre-order idea is just to help us generate more of a bulk order, to try and keep our prices as low as we possibly can, because of course everything is made here in the UK. We do not go abroad, but we're having to compete with brands that make everything abroad, from Turkey to the Far East. And the prices of making garments there are still very different, and even with the transportation on top, I cannot compete with those making prices when I'm making here in the UK, and I'm committed to keep doing that. That's also one of the reasons that I'm always committed to making things out of top quality fabrics so that they will last you. I'm the opposite of fast fashion. This is slow fashion all the way. Okay. Enough of the soapbox again. So this is garment number 2 in the large purple check, and I will show it to you now with a couple of different colors to show how effective this large check is when you combine it with different color layer cakes. This is a big contrast. I'll go for a smaller contrast now. See what you think of it. So, same baggies, a size 1 smock instead, so a size smaller on the smock front, and a size 1 love top. So the size of the top that I'm wearing is the same as the size of the love dress I just had on, but I've gone down a size in the smock, just to show you the difference of wearing a more fitted smock on top of what's a slightly looser garment underneath, and how well that works too. The other thing to point out is how different this color is. Do you see that it calms everything down a little bit? It picks up on the lighter stripes and the lighter checks in the fabric, but it's just as effective as an outfit. So I will add a couple more different colors and some colors that are coming down the pike. Not introducing them yet today, but give us a couple of weeks and they'll be coming, and I just want to show you a sneak preview, especially because they are so effective with the large purple check. And there is a fair chance that with the pre-order that I'm introducing today, and that will run for 2 weeks, the first week now with the podcast and then another week after the newsletter, there's a fair chance that I'll run out of the large purple check fabric after having done a pre-order with the love dresses and the play suits. So if you are on the fence with one of these, or the baggies, just beware. I'm not trying to pressure you to buy, but there is a chance that I'm running out of this fabric towards the end of this pre-order. So I wanted to show you that sneak preview of these other fabrics that are coming, because they go so well with the large purple check. And if I can, by doing that, I can avoid you saying, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known that these colors were coming, because if I would have known that, I would have combined it with a large purple check. So I'm hoping maybe I'm making sense. Meanwhile, first a couple of other colors still, starting with the magpie. I'm going to put on one of the magpie love dresses to show you how that looks with a large purple check smock and the baggies. So here's my own magpie love dress. You can see that I've worn this. It's not freshly pressed. I really like showing the linen as it looks when it's been worn a couple of days, either in a row or separated out, but this has not been pressed in or washed in between. It's just worn, and this is how crumpled it goes when you've worn it. And you can see that's not very crumpled at all. So back to my original point though, I will put the smock back on in a minute. The reason I thought, well, I'll leave it off to begin with, is to show you how effective it is to wear a completely different color outfit and then just have those glorious colorful baggies popping out at the bottom. As you can see, nice and colorful, but not too overwhelming in the overall outfit. And if you think, oh, I do like me a little bit more of that purple, then we'll add it right now. Here it is back again. The smock, this time worn with my magpie dress. And this is the size 1 smock again. So a little bit more nipped in at the bust, a little bit less voluminous. But you know what? I'll swap it right now for the size 2 so you can see exactly how they compare. I'll swap a couple of times, size 1, size 2, so you can see how the silhouette is affected by a size change. Rest of the outfit stays the same. Long, large baggies, size 1, kind of size 1.5. This was one of our original samples, so it's a little bit more roomy than the final size 1 is, but still, it doesn't make that much of a difference, you'll see. And this is the size 1 smock, and now I'll go for the size 2. Here it is, size 2. See the extra roominess, see the lower armholes. These armholes are almost down to my waist. There's a difference between the length of the armholes, and that is because, of course, this smock can encompass a much bigger bust than mine. That's the main difference. The bust size, it's not just back width, is bust size. And what happens when you fill this up is that, of course, all of this gets pulled forward and upwards, and that changes the positioning of that armhole. And that is the idea behind changing the drop of the armholes for the different sizes. It's to accommodate for a bigger body shape. However, as a tunic worn over the top of other garments, you can really get away with quite a big variation in sizes around one particular Layercake size. And that's why there is a 6-inch difference between the 4 sizes of Layercake. It's to be able to span a large range of dress sizes without creating a different size for every 2 inches up. And if I were to do that, I just couldn't run the business because I'm too small for that. I'm far too small for that. In fact, most businesses my size would have 1 or 2 models of designs that they would work with and would do that in different colors, and that would be it. So the breadth of the collection is only possible because of the way I've very slowly grown the business and doing the whole thing with the pre-orders the way that I've done. in combination as well with not having the shows the last 2 years. That has really given space to be more creative and do more designs. So back again to, I go on tangents all the time today. I do apologize. I hope it stays interesting still. So I promised a couple of extra colors, which I'm going to show to you now. Actually, before I do that, there is a third garment that's going to go on pre-order, and that's right next to me here. Again, in the large purple check. If the love dress wasn't for you, but you do like the idea of a dress, then there's the tulip, which will also be available as a pre-order from now for the next 2 weeks. So if I take this glorious little double Dutch scarfie off this lady, you can see that she's wearing, she's actually wearing charcoal palazzos, just to show you that a neutral color like the charcoal goes really well with the brights of the large purple check. And of course, it's a way to tone those down as well. I was talking about having the baggies at the bottom and then leaving out the bright smock, but you can do something the other way around. You can wear something like that and then putting a charcoal grey smock over the top, for example, to tone down that purple. So you can play around with that to give the large purple check either more or less of a leading role in the rest of your outfit. But back to this outfit, with the double Dutch scarfie having that really light, almost white blue, icy blue that's in it, as a contrast color on the one side, I thought, oh, that would be really nice to pick up on with the love top. So, and look how crisp that looks. So the white love top in combination with the large purple check, as opposed to that sweet pea love top that I was wearing, which is all very soft and very tonal and staying in the same kind of range as the colors in the dress or in the large purple check fabric. Here, I've gone for more contrast, just like there is in this, and it just makes the whole thing crisp, doesn't it? So that's a love top. Same effect, of course, you get if that would have been a white shirt. That same kind of, you know, crispness of the outfit. But the white top is, of course, a little bit less, a bit more toned down without the collar and without the cuffs that would give it more presence. This is as neutral as you can get it, but still that little bit of contrast, and then bringing that contrast back in the shape of the double Dutch scarf that has exactly the same colors. It's made of exactly the same linen colors as you will find in the large purple check fabric. So that is garment number 3. I'm not going to be wearing it because I haven't got a sample yet. We've just done the baggies and the smocks, and there's just that one sample of the dress to show you, but you've seen me in lots of tulip dresses before, so you know what we're talking about, and she's doing a good job of showing it, isn't she? So I promised you 2 more new colors that are coming down the pike that I'm going to show you now because they go so well with the large purple check. Here we go with color number 1. Size 2 all the way, size 2 dress and a size 2 smock. This is the new color raspberry. What do we think? Isn't it stunning in combination with the large purple check, and how it is picked up in some of the squares that have a very similar color running through it? No coincidence, guys, of course. I plan this stuff as much as I can with the available funds and access to different color fabrics. Some of them are woven especially for me. This one was one that they had some stock of, which I nabbed. So it's a limited edition from my perspective, but look at it. First color. I'm going to take this dress off, or my smock off, so that I can show the dress in its full glory and that color in its full glory. I mean, come on. Isn't it lovely? So there is a pinkness to it, obviously, but it's quite a neutral color, if you could call it that, in terms of it's not overtly blue or overtly red. And I cannot see any yellow in it, so it's relatively cool as pinks go. Color number 1. Do you want to see the next one? Okay. Here it is. Were you expecting this? Now, first of all, I just realized that I've messed up my color names. This is raspberry, and the previous one was called cherry. I'll grab it so you can see them next to each other. Now, some of you might say, well, this is more cherry and that's more raspberry. Arbitrary, of course. For some reason, this reminds me of what cherry juice does when you mix it into ice cream. Do you know when you get ice cream that has cherry in it and it kind of goes this color? That's why I called this cherry. Like I said, arbitrary really. And then this is raspberry, and I'm going to grab one of our regular reds, because you might think, well, that's just red, isn't it? Well, actually, it's not the same. Our regular red is more of a fire engine red, and this is slightly softer. And as a result, I find this better suited for a garment that has more real estate, more fabric presence around your body. So whereas I find the regular red absolutely fine for tulip dresses, I think with then the addition of the sleeves, tone it down just a little bit, and it makes the whole thing just chic, I think. Let me grab that red. I'll put this down. I need to put him on as well so you can see that combination, because again, this red in combination with the large purple check is so effective. But I'm also going to grab one of our regular reds. Okay, so put this on my shoulder. I can hold this here. Can you see the difference in brightness? I'll put up a close-up if that ends up working better, because I don't know how well this translates in the light. But there's just a punchiness, a brightness in there. There's more yellow in here that is not in here. So this is slightly more vintagey, slightly softer as a red. And of course, they can be worn together because they are very clearly not the same color. So it's not like this looks like a washed out version of that. They really are two different reds. But of course, you know me, I love wearing colors together like that. So definitely be having one of those. Still, that's the difference between the reds. This is the raspberry. And now I will put on the smock. I thought I might as well do it on screen. There we are. Ta-da! Bright, 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 bright. And of course the purples and blues, tone it down a little bit. But it's a lovely springtime outfit. And this, as well as the cherry color love dresses, will be coming hot on the heels of the pre-order for the baggies, the smock, and the tulip dress. So, before signing off today, I want to show you something else that we've been working on. I already promised it in the newsletter. We have been working on a skirt design, and really not convinced that we're there yet. So I'm going to show you how far we've come with it and get your feedback on it. Share our design process with you and our considerations. Bear with me, I'll put one on. Okay, so last autumn, Sharon, the dyer of Five Moons Yarns, was here picking up bits and pieces to take to Yarndale, which I could not attend last year. So she had to do it by herself, well, with Zoe. But Andrea and I weren't there last year. Hopefully this year we will be. We've both applied, so we may, with a bit of luck, we'll be back to our big stand at Yarndale, and it'll be the only and second show that I'm doing this year, because we're going to be at Wonderwall as well, also with one huge combined stand. Andrea and I, as well as Sharon and Zoe, big corner stand we have in our usual spot in both wells in the hall. So hope to see you there, and with a bit of luck we'll also be at Yarndale. Still, she was here to pick up stuff last September, and we were playing around with layer cakes, and she said, oh, why not use the bottom of the wave dress for a skirt? And she kind of held up the dress, kind of folded it over, held it up, and I said, oh, let me quickly take a picture of that. And that was the result. I thought, that's a great idea. That looks great. You know, it's like a flat hip section, then using those cool pockets, and then this wonderful flary circle skirt underneath. So the first sample that we made was the one that I'm wearing here. Now, of course, with the proportions and the dimensions of Sharon's body, and the fact that she was holding it up, she was able to make this nice and flat. She's got a good waist, of course, and the proportions between her waist and her hips are great. So you get this beautiful hourglass shape. However, translate that to a body like mine, and of course I want to go all the way to up to the size 3s, and you get a completely different picture. One of the issues is that if I make the panel, the top panel, any longer, my pockets are going to be so low that I can't reach them. So at the moment, this is as low as I thought we can comfortably go with the positioning of the pockets on the basis of that line that is coming off of the wave dress. So pockets too low, and the whole thing just looks so drab. What do you think? I've tried to put a black black love top on top to see what happens. Of course, I still have my fat tummy and my fat hips. I'm working on that, but that's a size 1 layer cake. If I then change those measurements to a size 2 and 3, you can see already that this dress, this skirt, is just going to look unfortunate. It's just not going to work. Can you see that? There's roundness here that doesn't work. The positioning of the pockets just end up looking sad and bedraggled. And even if I try to pull this smooth, it just still puts lots of emphasis on here rather than creating a shape that works well. So on the basis of this first one, and the fact that when I wear a love top, the panel protrudes beyond the bottom of the love top, I thought, well, what if we change that, bring all of this up a little bit, and what happens then? So I've got a sample for that as well, which I'm going to show you now. Here it is. Shorter panel up here, pockets pulled up a little bit, and look what happens now. This area is all looking a little bit better. It's actually, with the little pleats that we now get forming up here that run over my tummy, I like what's happening here. But look what's happening there. What on earth? Can you see that? This roundness, because it's in the wave dress, that flows. It flows from your shoulders down, and you get that lovely shape that the play suit has and that the smock has. And I lose it completely by cutting it and bringing it in at the waist. Look at that. This looks horrible, and we've already made this less rounded. Not only that, but then because of the way the fabric is cut, because it's a circle skirt, you end up with sections of the fabric that are on the bias. So you get a roundness here, which creates a width that doesn't actually exist. And then it nips in and flares out again at the bottom. So it's all wrong, 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 wrong. The idea, the concept worked. If you hold up that waist dress in front of you and just hold it up to your waist, it looks great. But as soon as you execute it in the fabric, it doesn't work. So back to the drawing board we go, because this is a matter of how the fabric is laid and cut and the width of it. It may be a case of not going for a whole circle, but doing something different and, working with different panels, for example. But I wanted to show it to you here to say, this is how much work and effort goes into designs, and we don't always get it right the first time. In some cases, there's a lot of construction work and a lot of thinking work and quite a lot of calculating necessary before you end up with a right combination of cut and fit and fabric. And that actually brings me also to highlight again, why do I not sell patterns? It's because of things like this. There may be other fabrics out in the world that if I would apply this pattern to those fabrics, I would end up coming up with something amazing. But the combination of the pattern, the shape, the size, and this fabric doesn't work together, because you get this kind of stuff going on that I just highlighted. So that's why I go, no, I won't sell you a pattern, because in your enthusiasm, you'll translate it to different fabrics. Those fabrics may not necessarily work in combination with the pattern, and then you won't blame the fabric, you'll blame the pattern, and I can't fault you for that. But it's in that case, it's not the pattern that's wrong. There may not be nothing wrong with the pattern, but this pattern for this skirt, for this fabric, doesn't work. So back to the drawing board, and we will have a new skirt at some point in the course of this year, but it won't look exactly the same as what that dream skirt as held up by Sharon did in the picture. I'll leave you with the picture again. Creating something like this would be fab, but my prime directive is to create a skirt that will work on all of you ladies, not just on one body. So that's it for the update on the skirt. I hope you like the new pre-order. If you have any questions about it, of course, let me know, and I will see you again soon. Thank you for watching.